गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः।
जय थारी माँ, आप सबको हमारी ऑडियंस का स्वागत है। रागिनी जी वेरी वेरी वेलकम, अजय सर वेरी वेलकम, राहुल जी वेरी वेलकम, मम्मी वेलकम जी, ग्रैटिट्यूड। रागिनी जी, ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे हमारी बात कंटिन्यू हो रही है, तो क्षमा चाहूंगी मैं आपको। आपके स्वागत के साथ एक बात शेयर करना चाहती हूँ।
प्लीज।
जी थैंक यू। टेक्नोलॉजी, सोशल मीडिया, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, इन सबको एक और नाम दे सकते हैं, चॉइस। चॉइस, इन सबको एक नाम दे दीजिए, ह्यूमन चॉइस, क्योंकि है तो ये चॉइस। अब वो पावर टू चूज और पावर ऑफ चॉइस हमने अपने बच्चों को देनी है, क्योंकि ये हमारे जीवन की एक अच्छी रियलिटी है। और एक और बात बोलती हूँ, फिर मम्मी आप कंटिन्यू करिए। मैं जितने बच्चों के साथ काम करती हूँ, बिना उनको कुछ कहे उनको एक दुआ देती हूँ, एक आशीर्वाद देती हूँ, लाइक अ मदर। ईमानदारी उनके मन को उनका मित्र बनाए, माँ उनके मन को सही मायने में उनका मित्र बनाए, फिर होते रहे आविष्कार जो भी होने, उनके मन को उनका मित्र बनाए। जी मम्मी आप बात करें।
Thank you, team parenting. Good to see you after a little gap. We seem to have disappeared. I don't know where we just. Ajay, where did we go?
I think the dates did not match.
Yeah. Somehow, how time keeps flying. Each day matters. But thank you, Ragini, for accepting our request.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me.
And you are the prestigious Principal of the Year 2023 awarded by the Universal Mentor Association.
Oh.
Tell us, what is this Universal Mentor Association? Does it select the best principals? Does it do that?
Ma'am, there is a survey that is done. Initially, we are supposed to submit our details online, and then there is an inspection committee that comes all the way to your city and to your school to inspect. And they do a survey with all the stakeholders involved, right from parents to teachers to school children, everybody. And it's a questionnaire which is floated among everyone, and then based on the answers that they get from them, and which are cross questions, so that to judge authenticity. And that is when they decide based on the kind of survey results and their inspection about this award.
Is this a national body, an NGO body?
Ma'am, it is an NGO body, however, but then it does not have a national status per se, but then they do select principals from across the country. But
And how
then
long, how old is this body?
it has been in existence for the last 12 years, ma'am.
Acha. Who founded it? Fast
Uh,
Educationists founded it?
yes, ma'am. An ex-principal.
Mm.
So he started it, and now there are people who are continuing it.
Mm.
For the
So,
last 4 years, we have. Uh,
so
been-
congratulations that you got this award. It's not unusual to get up. It must be quite tough if they go all you were looking for. But it'll
Thank
be
you.
very
Thank
good.
you.
Tell us about what are the principles? How do they select you? What are they looking for as a principal? What do they look for?
Ma'am, as of now, it's all about authenticity. It is all about innovation, especially in pedagogy, because uh, never ever has educational framework in India has seen such a path-breaking change that is happening right now with the advent of the National Education Policy 2020. So this was long due, and it had been awaited for a very long time. And now, with its advent, a lot of principals are now being trained by not just CBSE but then also by the Ministry of Education, and they are all thriving and striving to achieve excellence in terms of pedagogical practices. And that is exactly the motive of CBSE, to ensure that the entire face of education changes big time, and there is a complete change of educational practices and pedagogical practices.
What are the key changes? If let's place the matter in context, what are the key changes and what are the key challenges? And then we'll come to the subject of our major focus for parents who are listening to us.
Sure, ma'am. There's a big time change, and I will say that this change was long due. The shift of the focus from the teacher to the student in the class has happened, and that was actually required. Initially, when we had the earlier education policy, which was brought about in the year 1985, after that we had, I mean, I'm sure we all are products of Indian schooling, and we all have seen our teachers talk for good 40 minutes in every period, and that was a one-way communication that used to happen. So to put it in simple words, it is now no longer, the teacher is no longer the superhero of the class, but then it is actually the student who is now put in the center of the class, and all the educational practices, all the pedagogical practices are now enveloping the child, and they look at the child, and uh, we deliver the content keeping the child in the focus. It is actually the spirit of inquiry which guides the child's learning, rather than rote instructions coming from the teacher.
Give us an example
Ma'am, very
of
simple.
before and after. Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, as I said, like in olden times, a teacher used to conduct a class, a 40-minute session, wherein she used to prepare a class. She used to only speak. We used to call it a chalk and talk method. So the teacher used to write certain things on the blackboard and then talk about it, would read a paragraph from the book and then simplify it. No longer that works. Now the lesson plan formats have completely changed. It starts with a unique question, an inquiry based question, an inquiry which actually sparks curiosity in the child's mind. So, the ultimate learning objective which we are trying to attain in that period is actually put across, and the lesson starts with an intriguing question which actually should be the outcome at the end of the class. So we start with something which sparks curiosity, and then we put everything in front of the child for him to absorb at his pace and the way that he is comfortable with, and then derive and objectify his own learning. So the child creates his learning rather than absorb somebody else's learning, which is more important, as they say that you tell me and I forget, and if I only remember when I do. So it's more of hands on, it's more of experiential, every topic of science and mathematics, every topic of logical and ra- uh, rational thinking is actually taught to children by some hands-on experiences. Even students of grade 1 have their science, practical science activities, and they learn, I mean, those simple concepts which we've always seen as illustrations and diagrams in our books, that air has weight, where the children have only seen diagrams of one inflated balloon and a deflated balloon. Now the children actually end up tying a deflated and an inflated balloon on the either sides of the scale, and then see it for themselves that how air has weight. So right from grade 1 until grade 12, of course. So it's a lot of hands-on. The children actually are given enough content for them to research. We also have something known as research activities, and that is where technology steps in. We have tablets in our school, and our children have access to Britannica now, which is an encyclopedia. If you remember, we used to have books of encyclopedia kept at home yeah, when we were young. But then now all of that has been digitalized, and which is authentic content meant for children for their learning. Children can actually access that and find out things for themselves. So now it is not restricted that a child of say class 3 is supposed to know this much. If the child is interested and wants to know more, there is content and data available, made available to the child, and the child can actually go beyond the regular textbook material otherwise, which was just restricted in the name of the textbook that was given to the child. So now in this era of information, information is very readily available. We don't have to make our children information ready. We have to make our children skilled, and which is very important. So skills like searching on the internet. Now that's a very basic skill, and we have to train our children from a very early age, right? For that, with the advent of AI, now we need to get our children how to engineer to become prompt engineers, how to make a prompt which will give you the best result. So no longer is the time when we need to tell our children which is the largest glacier in the world, but it is the time that we need to tell our children that what if that largest glacier in the world melts? What will happen to our planet Earth will be all round. So for that, the child has to have a bigger understanding of the ecosystem, the amount of water which is there in that largest glacier in the world. Merely the name of the glacier might not help him. So the entire circumference of education has actually widened its horizons, and it has actually brought in a lot of other aspects of education rather than being information centric.
So, is it how are you balancing book reading with information technology reading? Reading on the screen and reading hard copies.
Ma'am, here, of course, the internet is also divided, and so are the parents, and the teacher fraternity is divided as of now. What is more important is the child to read. However, he may read from a book or he may read from a digital screen, that should hardly matter. What is more important is that the child should be able to read and should read more. And we started with tablets in our school 10 years ago. I remember I used to counsel parents by saying this, that our children are all in for technology, and we keep pulling away from them from technology, saying that don't stick to the tab all times and do not stick to the computer at all times. Why are we trying to drift them away from something that they are born with? It was us who were not born with this technology. This generation is born with technology and will have to live with technology. So why not intertwine education with technology and get them to enjoy whatever that they're doing. They should be enjoying actually the process of learning. So we've brought learning and we have intertwined it with technology. I'll give you a brief example, ma'am. For reading, there are certain apps, and I mean we use one of those in our schools too, which actually gets the child to read the book. Of course, a digital book looks more attractive. The child is more drawn towards it. It is easier for the child to read. Now, how do we ensure that the child is reading it correctly? There are pronunciation checks. The child reads it aloud and the app records it. The app then checks it with a basic pronunciation scale. And if there are any flaws, the word itself is marked red. And then the child continues to read. At the end of every book, there's a small quiz after it for us to know as parents, as teachers, has the child actually read the book or was just simply scrolling through the illustrations. So that is how technology has these days started helping parents and teachers in actually getting the children to be able to read more and better.
How are they using it? How to what extent? How for how long has this been in use now? Because it's only for a few years now that the NEP has come, National Education Policy has come.
Yes. However, this is not being advocated by the National Education Policy. This is a program that we use at school, and the National Education Policy also suggests that children's reading should not be just limited to their course material books, but the children should be exposed to different kinds of literature. The children should be reading different kind of material. But then in this dopamine driven era, it is very difficult to get the children to focus on mundane textual books and get them to read. Parents and teachers, of course, have to devise very creative strategies to ensure that children read, be it on digital platforms or on hard books, but then the children should be reading more.
So how do you identify these kinds of apps for all schools? I understand, or doesn't the government of India or the state administration inform them here is a list of apps to pick up from?
Sadly, as of now, not, ma'am. As of now, there isn't any help likewise which is provided by the government side. But then, with this was probably these are one of those advantages, only advantages that the Corona period brought to schools in terms of highlighting such apps and getting such apps to school, which actually can help and make children's learning effective and engaging.
Rahul, you
So
have your
it is
son in
actually
the
this.
school. Tell us about what's happening as a father. What changes are you seeing in your son? Because you have a young boy. Which class is he now?
Is in the seventh standard, madam.
There you are. So so how are you feeling as a father? Do you see the change which is Ragini is talking about?
Yes, it is. It is there. It is evident. And what I've seen in my son's school is that there are a lot of activity-driven programs. So, if you think maybe the behavior of the culture of the entire school is different, they don't give homeworks. That's one thing. And second thing, they have lot of activity. Like the classes will be over by around 2:30, and thereafter, um, every student should take a few. We call, I don't know whether it is elective or something. Some clubs we
Yes.
hear some clubs. So based on that, there will be a lot of skill training programs happening. So largely curricular skills and co-curricular skills like that they have divided into two parts. And then reading is encouraged, swimming, that kind of skills are encouraged, and at the same time they have lessons on the basic things as well. For example, I don't know how many students of these days know how to fix a button if it is going out. So this kind of trainings are also provided, and I really appreciate that schools effort in taking that kind of initiatives and install such kind of clubs with it. And in my opinion, you know, we used to say that an 18-year-old boy of today is not an 18-year-old boy 10 years before. They're much more mature, much more advanced. And in terms of knowledge and all, I don't know, my son may be much more advanced in terms of the technology, how to use the internet, and so many things. And again, my disagreement is regarding the language. Well, I don't know whether the Madam Principal will also be appreciating the same thing because some of the fundamentals are missing in my opinion, especially the basics of the language. Now these days they use maybe few sounds to communicate, and I don't understand half of them when they speak each other. When my son is on call with his brother, his friend, I don't understand. It's like totally a few sounds, few words, and bruh, brew, something like that. Some word will come, and it's funny to listen, but I don't understand. And I ask him what language is it, and he says it's the English. Okay, I never learned such kind of English, and this is something which I found really weird. Otherwise, they are smarter, they are confident to face the people, they are skilled, and they're growing up really well. And more civic sense is also installed. Throwing papers somewhere here or putting waste in some different places, and that kind of things are not there, and they're more focused. And if, for example, if I'm driving, if I'm doing in a wrong overtaking, and so he said, what are you doing? This is not the right way. So when I was a kid, I never dared to ask these kind of things to my father, but he's asking very openly. They're fearless in this kind of thing. So we are dealing with a good generation, and we need to install similar kind of curriculum practices. And I look forward for the NEP 2020 largely.
So they have the desktop. No, they have the pads. They've got the e-pads right on the table. Do they bring them from home? Is it available as a classroom desk? Is it on the desk, Ragini?
Ma'am, you're talking about the tabs that the children
Tabs.
bring
I'm
to
talking of the
school?
tablets. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So each child has his own gadget, ma'am, and they carry it along, and they have it as a replacement of textbooks. So our children do not have textbooks because textbook otherwise was a very mundane book of information. Now we've brought in our textbooks in the tabs. Of course, there are videos of it which are made by our teachers. So we have recording rooms here in the school itself. Our teachers record the videos to help children understand it better. We have an animator also in place, and he animates the lessons for the children. The best advantage is digital assessments. We call it as formative assessments, which is done time and again after small snippets. If I were to take you back to your school days, and you would remember that whenever a teacher used to read a paragraph and then ask a couple of questions at the end of each paragraph, and there would be those two or three children in each class raising their hands and answering, and then the teacher moving forward thinking that the entire class probably has understood. Now this is one thing which can actually be taken care of by technology. We have formative assessment tools in our school with the help of tabs. Now the formative assessment questions after every paragraph or couple of paragraphs pops up on each child's tab. Now, each child is supposed to answer. The teacher, maybe in just a glance, can see who all have actually understood and who all have actually not been able to understand the topic before proceeding forward. So she can actually know that the child may be sitting at the end still hasn't understood the topic, despite he not asking any question, yet the child hasn't understood the topic well because was not able to answer a couple of questions which were either comprehension based questions or logical based questions, or were higher order thinking questions which were asked after reading a paragraph. So we get all the children in the class sitting in the class get equal opportunity of answering, and at the same time, and their answers are digitally checked. So the teacher also, there's no need for the teacher to sit and check it on the notebook. They're all digitally checked. It's a formative assessment which is all done with the help of technology, and the teacher gets a graph right at there and there to ensure and to see that has each child understood the paragraph well or not, and who to address once again in case there are certain learning gaps.
So is the tablet evaluating the child? Because the child is reading from the tablet. But is the tablet evaluating the child?
Ma'am, there are certain apps likewise, which if the child reads it aloud, it actually checks that audio with a standard or a benchmarked audio, and then if there are any pronunciation errors or gaps, as I said, the word gets highlighted or the entire line gets highlighted if the child hasn't been able to read it correctly.
How does the teacher get to know? Only the tablet. Is the tab linked with the? How
There,
does the
yes,
lead?
I'm
How?
sorry, ma'am. So
Carry on.
there
How
are
does the
reports.
teacher? Hmm.
Yeah, so there are
Yeah.
reports that are drawn from the tabs, and everything that the child reads, everything that is objectively marked, and then the app actually totals it and tallies it and gives a subjective and an objective report to the teacher. So now this is where the AI comes handy, where the AI can actually find out that the child is not able to read a certain word repeatedly. And at the same time, there are, as I said, objective graphs which help us understand that the child was not able to read certain words which actually get highlighted. And so there is a report that is drawn so that the child was able to read with 75% accuracy, the child was able to read with 80% accuracy. So for the children whose accuracy levels are very low, the teachers can actually sit with them and tutor them to an extent that AI also gives the app also gives you the correct pronunciation for the word in case you've missed it out, and the child can actually hear it aloud and probably correct himself if he can. Otherwise, of course, the teacher has to then pitch in.
So is it then individualized, customized? What is happening today? How does the teacher then get to collect as a class or as an individual?
Both. As an individual, so there's a report that is collected individually and of course as a class also. So she can see
Then
the class's performance and the individual student's performance.
what does the teacher do then?
Of course, now then followed by we have two policies thereafter. Once these kind of formative assessments are done, Now there could be, we've set a certain benchmark as for the school, which is at times close to 50%. Anybody scoring below 50% or anybody scoring above 50%. Now these are all formative assessments. These are not memory based assessments. This was not something which you'd learnt and you reproduced and you were marked based on that. These are all actually questions which were, as I said, thought provoking, which were questions which you've just read. So open book kind of tests which are there. So what we need to understand is that has the child been able to develop the skill rather than just the content or the information. And as an outcome of it, either the child has to be taken for a remedial class or for a challenge setup. A remedial class is, of course, revisiting the topic or redoing of the concept once again. Or a challenge setup is where the child is exposed to questions which are probably of a higher level and would still keep him challenged rather than making the child unnecessarily overconfident that I know everything and I am the master of all, or मुझे तो सब आता है. So that kind of an unnecessary overconfidence does not seep in. Other the child keeps feeling that there is always a scope for improvement.
So how does
So
the
again,
measurement?
AI draws those challenge cards,
Ah,
ma'am. So
right,
AI
right.
makes those questions which are a level higher for from the same topic. AI makes those set of questions, and for the remediation also AI makes that set of questions. That set of questions are again self-paced. The child can learn at his or her own pace. The child may take as much time as he feels like because he's still not understood the topic well.
So the
And after
parents,
that, there is another test to help us understand. Now he's understood, we can proceed further.
so now the parents cannot do their homework. Parents cannot do the homework of their children. Rahul, are you able to do the homework for your boy?
No, no, I am not able to do that.
There are no homework these days, ma'am.
What I'm saying is assist them. See, that way earlier, parents were literally like tutors for their children. Now,
Yes.
parents themselves need to be tutored.
The syllabus itself is different, madam. Actually, most of the things which we learned in the degree time is also included in the sixth standard. Like that amelioration has already happened in many syllabuses these days. Which, in one way, I found it's too heavy. I don't know, Madam Ragini can also comment about it because are they too overloaded with the kinds of books or the syllabus that are they mature enough to handle these syllabuses or the content in the textbook? I still have doubts on that, but somehow they are moving forward.
With
So
the
I think,
advancement everywhere, there is
yeah.
there is no other option left with schools. But then, however, CBSE is now working on it and is downloading, and then they are actually ensuring that the content is being lowered to a certain extent. But then, at the end of the day, if the discrepancy between or the disparity between the I mean those competitive examinations and the school syllabus, till the time that that is not matched or they are not both at par, till that time that that disparity will continue, uh, I'm sorry, we will not be able to get rid of a lot of problems of the society which we all are already aware of in the name of tuitions and in the name of dummy schools, in the name of dummy classes. We will all not be able to get rid of those till the time that the disparity between the school syllabus should be sufficient for any competitive exams for the child to prepare or to compete for. It should not be something which the child has to separately prepare or align himself to.
जी मैम
And
Are
it
there a
should be
lot
more
of
fun.
dropouts? Is it dropout happening? Because it must be somewhere very challenging. Somewhere the
Yes, ma'am.
children may not get. Is it dropout happening? They're looking for easier schools.
Yes, yes, that definitely happens, ma'am. That is one of the most pressing issues that schools these days face, especially when it comes to senior grades 11th and 12th. So that is one of the most pressing issues, and that happens with some of the most brilliant children. And with experience, we've seen that those brilliant children dropping out from schools, they are not then further exposed to the kind of activities what Rahulji was saying in terms of those skill activities. Even our school does after 2:30. We have a similar kind of a skill period every day, Rahulji. And those children who drop out from schools are not able to participate in such skill or sport activities. And I have personally seen children coming back to me after 2:30 saying that we've terribly missed out on certain things which we did not realize when we were in grade 10. And these dropouts I'm yet to come across somebody who was very happy leaving school and then successfully getting into the prestigious institutions of the country. I'm yet to come across a student likewise.
Ma'am, how do you balance heart, body, soul, mind education? How do you balance that? Heart, body, soul, mind education. And just taking it a little forward, how do you prepare a child for a non gadget space? From such a heavy gadget day, how does a child cope with a non gadget environment?
So, as I said, ma'am, our day starts with sports. Now, in our school, it is compulsory for each child to choose a sport. It is compulsory. Our co-curricular space is divided into visual arts, performing arts, and instrumental music. It is compulsory for each student to learn music. It is compulsory for each student to learn one facet of visual arts. It is compulsory for each student to learn one facet of performing arts. And this is done just to expose these children to different skill sets. Probably they might themselves not be aware that where does their interest eventually lie, or where they can actually make it professionally big time. As I said, our day starts with one sport class every day for every student. For whatever sport that you've selected, you will be playing that sport under a coach's guidance, and that coach trains you 365 days a year. And our day, before our day ends, we always end it with skill classes, which are actually meant for the various co-curricular activities. And yes, Rahulji, even we teach our children how to sew a button to a shirt, and making some brilliant dishes, even clay pottery. That is some of the most calming, I believe, skills that children can actually acquire. Music. Now, music is one of the best stress busters that that children can actually have for their life. And there are times when children come to me saying that I'm not interested in music. I think I'm better off with studies, and I don't want to opt for any of the instruments. And I tell them that do not opt for it, or do not go for it professionally, but then keep it like a hobby. You never know, your profession might be too overwhelming and you might require a stress buster in the future. And at the same time, we also follow the heartfulness curriculum, which is the so we follow the curriculum, and that is one of the best curriculums that we've had. And that curriculum helps our children ease out from the pressures of academics and, of course, technology a lot.
Take us through the timetable of a day. I come, let's say, children coming to school as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. What happens?
Their day begins with a sport class, ma'am, and they have a sports period, either the first or the second. So before it becomes too sunny, because we are based out of Jodhpur, and Jodhpur being the sun city, so it is very difficult for children then to play in scorching heat outside. Otherwise, so before the day becomes too bright, we have a sports period for them, a couple of academic classes followed by breakfast, some more academic classes with some interspersed, as I said, visual arts, performing arts, and instrumental music classes. And then the day before the day ends, so we also have something known as a skill class for them. So each child has to choose a skill, and we have various skills. We have almost 14 sports and 13 skill activities that we offer in school, and the children have to choose between these activities. A child of age 6 and 7, he is exposed to all of these activities, so that by the time the child comes to class 3, he is then able to choose. In grades 1 and 2, we expose them to all activities. So they will have an art period, a craft period, a clay pottery period, a dance period, a drama period, a vocal music period, all instrumental music periods. So he is exposed to all of these skills with one period at least a week.
So they keep
Just
switching between sports dress and the school uniform?
Uh, just to ensure this, my school uniform is again unique. My school uniform does not consist of a shirt and a skirt. My girls also wear t-shirts and skirts, so which are uh, I got my uniform, school uniform, designed by a designer, and I had told him that children come to school for studying and playing. The uniform should be such which should not be a hindrance, because I've always seen and I've always worn a tie and a blazer myself to school, and that blazer was almost hanging behind my chair or on the basketball pole throughout my life. So I said, I want a uniform which is comfortable, so our children do not wear any formal uniform to school, ma'am. They wear t-shirts and skirts. Now, skirts is a blend between skirts and shorts, hence which allows freedom of sport, playing and jumping. And they have sports shoes, so they wear Adidas shoes to school.
Is this special only for your school, or is this the what, or is this a choice of an individual school,
It
or
is
is
the
this the
choice of an
general?
individual school, ma'am. It is the choice of an individual school. The schools,
No.
most of the schools, however, still continue with formal uniforms with shirts and ties and blazers. We've somehow, because of the timing, so we've intertwined everything in our curriculum. We packed everything in the timetable under one roof, and hence we've tried our best to keep the child as comfortable as possible throughout the day with an easy uniform.
So very educated. Ajay,
जी
would you like to
अजय
go back to school ever?
Yeah. Ma'am, I would like to share some
yes
interesting
अजय सब
details from the
please
book.
please जी
There's
अजय
a book, The Age of AI, co-authored by late Henry Kissinger, Eric, and Daniel. The authors discuss a groundbreaking chess program developed by Google called DeepMind, which did not play chess in the traditional way to win. Instead, it used unconventional methods with a sole objective of securing victory. In a 100-game match, surprisingly, the program defeated Stockfish, the most powerful chess engine at that time, with 28 wins, 72 draws, losing none. This raises an interesting question: what happens if AI, with such a singular focus on victory, is applied to situations like warfare, where the criteria are solely about winning, even at the cost of the army chief or human lives? The AI would operate without empathy, focusing only on one end goal. This is one of the challenges I would say we face with AI. It would replace human emotions and values. As we move forward, it's very crucial to find a balance between the use of AI and the necessary human intervention, ensuring that AI complements our skills and does not replace our emotional intelligence. My question to Ragini ma'am is: in a world increasingly influenced by AI and technology, how parents and educators collaborate to ensure that children are equipped with both the technical skills and the emotional intelligence?
I think it's one of the most pressing questions of this era, with ChatGPT almost taking over any kind of writing which is required these days, even by students. Children these days have been seeking the help of AI even for their regular homework. Forget any big time projects or assignments. They have been seeking help of AI even to write their smallest answer. Of course, AI is a tool which is a double-edged sword, and we need to use it with caution. At the same time, in education, we should not be completely ignoring or surpassing AI. I think I will give an example here. If you've heard of now, it's one of the largest platforms. It's an NGO, ma'am, run by Mr. Salman Khan, not the Bollywood actor, but then Mr. He's commonly known as the Sal Khan Academy, which is the Khan Academy. It's an NGO, ma'am, and it actually is free for children. It's a learning app for children across the globe, and which uses an AI tool by the name of Khan Migo. This AI tool does not give direct answers to children. It actually guides the child towards the answer, or maybe helps him rectify his mistake, but does not give him direct answers. I think this is a perfect example of how AI should be used in the future by educators and by parents, not getting the children into the habit of getting answers, but then AI acting like a tutor or AI acting like a help, guide, or mentor. I think is the best way going ahead, rather than seeking direct answers from AI and then completely drifting away from knowledge.
Okay.
Ma'am,
And
uh,
if it was to talk about emotional intelligence, yes, there are a lot of other ways which the parents will, of course, have to understand when it comes to uh, understanding our children. As parents, we will have to ensure that we start with knowledge. We start with understanding what AI is all about. We need to know what is the digital media actually, what is the kind of role that digital media is playing in our children's lives. How are our children navigating through the social media? We need to know that. We need to encourage a lot of authenticity in our children, and we need to lead by example. We need to understand that our children should not be onto social media. There are starking figures, I'll say, which are produced by census of which is known as the common sense census. It has produced that by the age of 14, almost 90% of school going children have mobiles in their hands. Almost 50% of the children are on social media below the age of 12. Between the age of 9 and 12, almost 50% of the children are on social media. Whereas most of these apps, their minimum age is 13, before which the children should not become a member of them. And children try and seek confirmation, children try and seek affirmation on these social media platforms. And as parents, we need to ensure that we are aware that what are our children doing and what is the extent of the digital media encroachment in our children's lives. We need to ensure that we build that kind of digital literacy for our children, then and we tell them and we help them identify between the real and the real life, that how filters, how those curated social media accounts can actually dampen their spirits and dampen their understanding of the world. We need to ensure this, that we bring in some sort of real life connections with our children. We actually have to see to it that we have limitations set in terms of usage, in terms of areas. Now we could have no phone dining tables, we can have no phone bedtime areas, we can have limitations in terms of usage, that the usage should not go beyond a certain time, say maybe an hour or so, whatever that we feel as per the age of the child. And we should ensure that we also promote certain activities with our children which are more real world like, and we take them out, we get them to play, we get them to play real games rather than those video games. But then at the same time, we have to ensure that our approach is a little more balanced for our children to accept us, because keeping a one sided approach might get our children to completely drift away from us and feel that we are outdated and do not belong to this generation.
So the parents
Rahulji,
must be feeling so challenged. Parents today must be feeling very challenged.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, it's the biggest challenge for a parent to bring in that kind of balance in their lives, in the way that they can actually help the child understand and balance his own life.
Ji, Rahulji, can I, with your permission, I'm just going to read something which came to me. I was going through because it's somehow connected with Ajay sir's thought. Ma'am, ये uh, post आई. It's a little strong, but there's a Nazi camp made here, and it says, "What is education?" At the end of World War II, this letter was found in a Nazi concentration camp. It is addressed to teachers. It says, "Dear teachers, I'm a survivor of a concentration camp. My eyes saw what no man should witness: gas chambers built by learned engineers, children poisoned by educated physicians, infants killed by trained nurses." I can't go on reading what's written here more, but a line: "Your efforts must never produce learned monsters,
Monsters. Correct.
skilled psychopaths, educated illiterates. Reading, writing, arithmetic are important, but if they serve towards making our children more human, humane. Ma'am, I had to share this. End goal of education, AI, social media, technology has to be humanity.
Humanity. Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am. It is one of, again, the biggest challenges that probably humanity could have ever witnessed, and especially when it comes to education. It is always, I mean, right now we are at the brink of, uh, you know, singularity, which we might see it coming in the next 100 years by AI. That if that happens, what all we've been dreading and we've been seeing in those sci-fi movies, all about AI taking over the world. I mean, why go this far? I will try and bring it down all the way to the fact that the small thefts, the small lies, the small wrongdoings, the small feelings of jealousy, the small feelings of hatred, the small feelings of envy towards any, any other human being. Let's bring it further down all the way to our classrooms. What is, I mean, as an educator, we have to ensure that we are able to address that before anything else. As I said, threats of AI, and those are far fetched or probably far sighted, and we are yet to reach up to that. But then, as educators, we have to ensure that we are able to counter those small feelings of all those ill feelings which the child might have. And as a teacher, I should be the first person to see that, if there's anything that, likewise is developing in the child, helping the child overcome that. And then the teacher should be able to turn it around for that child. So I think right from that, a feeling of envy that, my peer has a better pencil box than me, right from countering that, and I think all the way going up to the threats that AI poses today for all of us, I'm sure we will be able to counter those too. But then it all lies in the hands of that sole teacher who's there in the class, and of course the other. So maybe it's the teacher in the front and the parent at the back, protecting the child, covering the child from all sides. It takes a village to raise a child. So it's not just a single-handed job done by the teacher, but then an entire community that has to ensure that we are creating a safe environment for our children. We are creating an environment which is children friendly, which can actually allow. Uh, if I were to this article of yours, man, this reminiscence me to one line of one drama which was done by children of NSD, and one of the children said that make the society safe so that we can step out and play. The children were urging the society and the parents that make the society safe. We want to step out and play, but our parents don't send us because they dread that we might be kidnapped, we might be abducted, we might be exposed to abuse, any kind of abuse. And so they were requesting the society to make it a safe place for them to come out and play, and not just blame them that they are all sitting inside playing video games and not stepping out into the real world.
ji, ji.
What is happening when you all meet as principals? Because every school must be having its own level of upgradation, level of technology and growth and innovation and execution of the NEP, right?
Yes. Yes.
Implementation of the, you are all at different levels now.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
schools now are almost at different levels of the implementation of the NEP, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What is happening when you all principals meet, when you all teachers meet, inter school? It's not inter school. What's happening?
A lot of sharing has started happening, ma'am, which was very uncommon before, I should say, NEP. A lot of sharing has started. Indians were apparently the biggest consumers of content rather than producers of content. But then, of lately, the last 4 years post Corona have seen a big time change when it comes to sharing of best practices, sharing of experiences, sharing of even resources, and that has really started. The government has also ensured that there are hubs of learning that are made, where schools are formed into clusters, and each hub is supposed to handhold, mentor, and guide each member. And that is something really important and I should say path breaking that has happened. And we do share a lot of experiences and resources with each other.
Rahul ji, your question ji.
No, I don't have any question as such, but maybe when it comes to the AI, I have a different view. A different maybe you'll also agree with me. See, every time we'll be having this kind of disruptions. When we human beings invented wheel out there after the industrial revolution, when it started, every time we had so much of fear in us. And AI is a part and parcel of our life. It is going to drive a lot of things that is happening presently. Rather than fearing, let's embrace the technology. Let's learn this. See, I'm sure Ajay will also be able to contribute more about that because he's heading a large organization and they are also into the AI path. Uh, you know, uh, we have to embrace this technology earlier the better. And I don't think you need to learn everything about it. Maybe the basics would be fine. So I don't know how to do an AI program, but I can understand basic behaviors of AI. So such kind of awareness should be taken. When the demonetization happened, there was a great fear in everyone. And how will I do the transactions thereafter? How will I manage the digital technology? But what happened immediately within a short span of time, everybody learned how to use a GPay or Paytm, some kind of things, and it is so easy. The learning curve is so small, and whatever is necessary for us, we are using it. Same way, we need to embrace this technology. We need to understand more about AI, and I don't think. See, I'm very optimistic about AI. It is not going to there is no, so the people were saying that tomorrow there will be a lot of terminators on the street and they will kill us. I don't think so it's going to happen. See, whenever there is a problem or such kind of technological advancements happening, definitely human beings are also getting automatically upgraded one or the other way. And the word survival of the fittest will be there. However, the AI, let us embrace the technology, let us learn the basics, let us teach our children, and that's how we need to move forward. That's how it is. That's how we enter human life. That's what I want to say about AI.
Rahul ji, what's happened is while you have the car, I see, as I said, it's power of choice. And what Ajay ji said, the end result was winning. And what we said, it has to make us more human. While the card is now with the phone, you're banking online. एक तरफ तो वो फैसिलिटी मिल गई, दूसरी तरफ उसको हैक भी किया जा सकता है, and your money is gone. So you have to be so particular these days. You can't have a conversation without the fear of being recorded. I'm talking of just basics. Being filmed, being misused. The attention needs to go there. Then bring it back to what it was for. It was for development. It was to enhance our life. And I want to ask ma'am this. Ma'am, are our children being able to think on their feet? अगर उनको कोई फैसला लेना है, लाइफ डिसीजन, चैट जीपीटी उसमें क्या करेगा मैम? इफ दे हैव टू नेविगेट थ्रू लाइफ, उसमें चैट जीपीटी और गूगल क्या करेगा मैम? इफ दे हैव टू गेट टू नो देयर ओन सेल्फ, उसमें चैट जीपीटी क्या करेगा मैम? मैम, यहां से बहुत दूर जा रहे हैं. ये इक्वल मूवमेंट की जरूरत है मेरे ख्याल से. एक इक्वल मूवमेंट where you're adapting and moving with the times, but you're like a strong tree. Ma'am, how do
Are
you
you
eat the how do
so
you
are
eat the
we
fruit without the
so are
root?
we being pushed into accepting this because we don't have a choice and we are now adapting ourselves to this? Are we being pushed because this has come from the West? It's not come from the East. This artificial intelligence has not come from the East. It's come from the West. So are we being pushed because now we don't have time? And artificial intelligence, I don't know what was the major objection. It's a very big money game. It's only making the richer, the richest, and the richer, richest and the richer. Now it's not about being billionaires. It's about being trillionaires. And these, I as understand, is now becoming trillionaires. And while others are doing a catch up. So are we catching up? And so how are we struggling with it? So are we following because we don't have a choice now? Because the NEP was written before AI, much before. AI was being drafted and researched and written by the group before the advent of the AI actually taking roots and challenging us today. AI has come after almost the publication of the NEP. So are we now climbing up? And what is the final purpose, Ragini?
Ma'am, I would like to say, I would like to put it across in a way where NEP is already taken care of, maybe AI, knowingly, unknowingly, because it talks about developing skills in children. It also talks about conducting open book tests for children. Now, I mean, with an open book, as good as AI in front of you. What's more important is because, as I said, this era is not the era of information. The era of information is gone. Now, this is the era of skills, and we will have to train our children on skills rather than any kind of information. Yes, humanity is one quotient that we need to understand. I think that these kind of threats also existed when a calculator was invented. When the calculator was invented, we somehow felt that all humans will forget how to even calculate. But did that happen? No, it didn't. It just made our lives easy. Similarly, with AI, it is going to make our lives easy, and with any upcoming change, of course, there are apprehensions surrounding it. But then I will give it to this generation, and trust me, our generation has much bigger challenges than probably we had. But then at the same time, I will say that our generation is also very mature, is also very mature in understanding the difference, and they will try and they know how to balance this. It will take some time because right now it's the overwhelming time because they've just been introduced to it with then enough of it, and then they would not even feel the presence of it. We are being overwhelmed because it did not exist in our times, and that is the reason that we feel that, oh my god, it is going to take over the world, and then what if my child becomes too dependent on AI? What is going to happen then? Similarly, probably our ancestors, my grandfather was dead against having a calculator. We are Marwadis, ma'am, we belong to business families, so my grandfather was a very successful businessman, and he was dead against having a calculator for my uncles who were running the business, and he said that मुख जबानी करो, ये तो इतनी गणित तो आनी चाहिए तुम्हारे को. But then, did that happen that with calculators coming in, did that generation or this generation forget how to count? No, it didn't. But then at that time they were overwhelmed, and a calculator was completely banned in my family. That there will be no calculator in our business. We will all do it, with fingers and with mind, and we will not be using a calculator, because he felt that this is something which is really going to devour them somehow, and would not let their skills grow. Similarly, I think we are at the same stage where, and for us, calculators are now right there in our mobile phones, and it is not an overwhelming thing anymore. Similarly, for the coming generation, I feel that AI and technology would be so much a part of life and would not be overwhelming any further. We, as a part of that generation who has not used AI or technology so much, so of course feel overwhelmed. But then it is our duty and responsibility to ensure that we are able to strike that balance for our children. That is very important, and we keep bringing that balance time and again, and such that they don't get too drifted away. So that will definitely happen, I'm sure, with the
And
coming
let's also
generation.
not forget that human race is inherently creative and adaptable. Throughout history, we have faced challenges, and we have always found ways to innovate and evolve. So I think, as ma'am rightly said, maybe this is a time of test, but we will come out of it.
But in the process, lot will. It's a race. It's now we are all on the track field. We're all on the track field. Some of us are at the starting point. Some have not even reached the starting point. So some of them are not, and majority is not even reaching the starting point with 400 million, more than 400 million youth. in school, nearing school, out of school, or even 500 million, and the number is likely to increase. But question is, some have, some are in the 50 meters, some have reached 100 meters, some have reached 125, some are dropping, fall, some are falling, some are touching. Earlier, we were all in it together. In a way, nahi aata, ignorance was an option. So earlier we were literally all of us together, equally blind, equally less knowledgeable, equally happy with less we know, the better. And now we are all into on a racing track or walking track, whatever. So some are sprinting, some are walking, some are jogging, some are in three-legged race, some are on one leg. I don't know. So that I think what's happened, Ragini, is that every school now has been put on a racing track saying bhago, giro, maro, dubo, chalo, तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम
तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम है.
लेकिन वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए ये है डिग्री, ये स्किल. बट along with it, I agree, Ragini. All of us were generalists. None of us had any skill. Now it's all about skills driven economy. It's economy driving. Economy is now driving the need for skills. And in that skill, speed and specialization will come through the speed and specialization and objective analysis, because there's no time to now evaluate. The app evaluates you and you're employed. And I think these are very big new challenges for. I'm so glad we are now, all of us are out of school.
Ma'am, it's a big challenge for our teachers. Now imagine our teachers were never taught this way. The teachers were never taught to teach this way. When they did their
Yeah.
B.Ed, nothing like this existed. Never in their school something like this existed. But then now they are expected to deliver something this way. So there's a big time challenge for the teachers. Only when this generation, which is currently learning, who are learners right now, would
Become
probably
teachers.
grow and then become teachers. I'm sure, but then by then technology would further evolve and the challenge would still continue.
It always continue to be a race.
It's always going to be a
So
race.
it's like the same board, कोई जीता, कोई हारा, कोई फेल हुआ, कोई पास हुआ, कोई फर्स्ट आया, कोई रह गया. I think that this is humanity all about. But now it's a different ballgame. Lithology, I think a big change for you people, Ajay, and you, Rahul, all of you, for lithology. I think lithology must be going through a overall. What skills are you examining for children, for the parents? Isn't it, Rahul and Ajay, for lithology?
Yes, madam. Yes, of course.
My God.
Rahulji, how do you handle this whole concern of gadgets also? How do you, because a gadget in your hand now has become a part of your identity. Children are associating themselves with the gadget they use and how well they use it. How are you handling this?
See, when it comes to our products and services, yes, our gadgets are part of parcel, but we have sessions, training programs to help children and parents to get out of this gadget addiction. So we cannot ban such kind of things from the home. We cannot take off those things. It's a part and parcel of the life. And if you don't, if you're banning or if you're saying that no, complete no to the gadgets, our children will suffer in future. So intelligently using that and helping them to use in the brighter way. Also tracking. See, there are so many things which we can use. It in technology itself is having some solution. An example, parental guidance system. You can put such softwares into the system, and then what time they need to use, or what are the malwares which we can avoid, or we can say firewalls. Such kind of things are the technological solution. Other than that, a close monitoring of them, understanding them, open conversation, or helping them to express their ideas and thoughts, and we should check, just like how we see whether our kids are having good friends. Same way, we should know how they are using the gadgets properly. So similar kind of
That's another challenge. That's
yeah.
another
I would
challenge.
just like to add small thing to this, ma'am. And for this, technology, as Rahul ji said, is the solution. And we've been doing it. We do something known as mobile device management, which is an MDM. So which we've already installed in the tabs which children use, such that they cannot use their gadget for anything else but education.
Wow, that's another one. See, everything has a check and a balance.
That has to be there, ma'am. So before
That
our
is
children
Thank you.
understand this morally that they are not supposed to use their gadgets for any other thing but education. So till that time that we are able to impose that moral check, I think a technical check is what it helps us safeguard our children from any unwanted information.
One of the topic which we teach to our students is technology, the ethical use, and
Yes.
critical thinking skills. We have a lot of deep fake systems. A lot of, I mean, social media is it's like a university these days for some people. They read
Wonderful.
from there and they learn from that and they say the nonsense. Critical thinking is something which we need to teach the students when it comes to technology, and also the ethics of technology, what we can do and what we cannot do. The cannot do part is the most important thing, and we are teaching them. We have a syllabus for the same.
Wonderful. I wish every gadget would come with a lovely note, with a lovely thought quote, a note, which kind of leaves a little thought in a child's mind that it's all for good use, it's all for optimum use, it's all for positivity and balance and to enhance life. But that's lovely. Yes, we hope
I,
and pray for the best.
yeah, very challenging. So I never realized schooling has become so challenging, and parenting has even become more challenging. And I bet parents probably would be asking the children, "Aaj tum mujhe kya sikhaoge?" Means, what will you teach me today that I can ask you? They'll say, "I'll choose. I'll select what I want you to know and what I don't want you to know." Very challenging.
Right.
Yeah, that's why, Ragini, you've been declared, got the award of the Principal of the Year, because you
Thank
seem to
you.
be at the right at the top of the curve,
Thank you so much,
ahead
ma'am.
of the curve, rather.
Thank you.
अब ये
Thank you.
देखिए, ये भी तो टेक्नोलॉजी है कि हम मिल रहे हैं एंड
हाँ,
इतने सारे लोग जुड़े हुए हैं एंड वी आर
yeah,
डिस्कसिंग, ये भी
Yes.
तो
yeah.
टेक्नोलॉजी है. तो ये था उद्देश्य.
That was the objective.
आर वैक्सीन्स, आर हेल्थ सेक्टर, आर एजुकेशन सेक्टर, जैसे आप बता रहे हैं, आप स्पोर्ट्स, हमारा हमारा लाइफस्टाइल कितना कुछ इन्हांस हो गया. बट यही एक प्रार्थना है कि मन का भाव ठीक रहे and we don't harm and hurt Mother Nature, and we don't hurt and harm human life.
That's a right balance to strike.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you, Ragini. We look forward to now working with your children on our book reading session. In fact, I
Sure,
want to
ma'am.
check with you, work with
That
you
would
to see where are they going, how are they feeling. That will be an eye opener for all of us in our book reading session, which will come soon.
It
Looking
would be
forward to
an
your children.
utmost honor and pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much for this opportunity also.
Thank
And
you.
my children would definitely be looking forward to meeting you and speaking to you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
जी,
Thank
thank you राहुल जी, अजीत सर, thank you, रागिनी मैम, thank you so much. बहुत अच्छा
Thank
लगा
you.
आपसे
It's
बात
been
करके.
eye
you.
opener, very challenging and very informative. Thank you so much.
जी
Thank
जी
you,
Thank you, Ajay.
everybody. Thank you,
Thank you for
Rahul ji. Thank you,
reconnecting all
Ajay
of
ji.
us.
Thank you,
जी
Saina ji.
राहुल जी, thank
Thank you,
you,
Rahul. Thank you.
जय
Thank you.
राहुल
Thank you,
जी मैम,
Ragini.
thank you जी.